So to analyze this, we have Dr. Jacques Neria, formerly from Israeli military intelligence, and Tony Badran, research fellow at the Foundation for Defense of Democracies. Let's start with you, Tony. What do you make of these early results? It's not final yet, but what do you think about it?
Well, I think there's a lot of over-exaggeration in the framing of what's going on. A lot of it is driven by deliberate propaganda by parties like the Lebanese forces and others. The notion that Hezbollah suffered a major blow is completely overwrought. Hezbollah, just to put things in perspective, swept the entire Shia vote, added a Shia seat rather, in Byblos, in the heart of the Christian heartland in Lebanon, and picked up additional Sunni-friendly seats in the scattered and fragmented Sunni vote. And its Christian ally, Gibran Bassil, the former foreign minister and the son-in-law of the president, who was the target of a lot of the campaign of the political forces in Lebanon, retained his seat, and his party retained 16 seats. So they dropped a couple of seats from the 18. So to describe this as a major blow is completely overstating things. That's number one. Number two, one needs to remember, and a lot of people seem to forget this, that in 2005 and in 2009, Hezbollah was not in the majority in parliament. It was in the minority. And it didn't mean a thing. It was able to impose its will on all things, including the election of another president.
That's maybe the biggest question. Does it matter at all? Jacques, what do you make of it?
Well, I cannot but agree with what Tony Badran has said right now. I mean, this is the assessment that Hezbollah has suffered a major blow is something that unreal. I mean, because if you look at what happened in these elections, the couple Hezbollah and Amal are still the biggest political bloc in the parliament. This is one. Second, the Gibran Bassil has lost only 2 seats, and with 16 he is already targeting a sort of alliance for independence, and he will be equal to the Lebanese forces, 20. So of course there are some losses. One of the biggest losses is Talal Arslan, the Druze, but on the other hand, you have, as Tony said, the big wins in Badran, in Byblos, in the center of a Christian enclave, and then in Zahli, which was the cause of the Lebanese war between us and Syria, and at the time, and it has fallen under the Hezbollah, the Hezbollah rule. So this is really insane to say that Hezbollah has lost or has suffered a major blow.
Right. So to your point, Tony, does it matter? I mean, does Hezbollah need any official, power in the parliament, or it can just do whatever they want?
That was the reason I brought up 2005 and 2009, when they were not only were they in the minority twice in 2 back-to-back elections, but that was at a time when there was a very strong involvement by the United States, France, and Saudi Arabia, along with popular backing on the side of the so-called anti-Hezbollah forces at the time. What did these forces do, however? They aligned with Hezbollah in a national unity government. This is why all of these categories that are being used today, the establishment, the opposition, the civil society groups, these are all extremely meaningless or dubious categories when you apply them in Lebanon. I'll give you an example. When some of these votes that came up in the Shuf that went to newcomers from the so-called civil society movement, it appears very likely that the reason they got these votes, and it's a loophole in the electoral law, really, it's what it is, but the reason why they got through appears to be the result of a deal by Druze chieftain Walid Jumblat and the Shia duo to secure Walid Jumblat's position in the Shuf and to avoid other Druze rivals from taking those seats, and so he allowed these nobodies that have no constituency and will have no power in parliament to take it. So everything that you're reading in terms of now of the narrative of the anti-Hezbollah votes and all of that, all of this has to be tempered and taken put in context of the Lebanese system.
Right. And Jacques, we are talking about what, 41% of turnout in the elections? This is ridiculous.
Well, this only means that the Lebanese do not trust their government, do not trust the system, and they have voted by their feet by saying that, okay, we won't participate. But the biggest loser here is the Sunnite. We don't know exactly what happened in the Sunnite community. We know that there are separate lists that were there. And what is more important, that Hezbollah has put in Hariri's the areas, he has put 6 candidates. And if those candidates are going to be chosen and win the elections, then this is a game changer in Lebanon. I mean, certainly the Sunnite, the 6 candidates can be of a major change in the Hezbollah attitude in the area. But I want to concentrate on Hezbollah. Hezbollah has put 2 items on the agenda, and we have to remember that. The first item is we will not give up our...
Let me hold your thought. We have to take a break. Jacques Neria and Tony Badran will be right back, and we'll keep talking about this interesting development in Lebanon. Also, we'll be at the UAE, where leaders are coming from all over the world. We're back with more on Lebanon with Dr. Jacques Neria and Tony Badran. Jacques Neria, I stopped you before, so finish your point about Hezbollah.
Well, I want to say the thing that the quagmire that we are witnessing in Lebanon is going to just accompany us. I mean, stagnation in the political system. There will be no reform in Lebanon. And the question is if this parliament will be able to choose a president in October. And I think that we are heading into a dead end. And this is one thing. This is why I say that Hezbollah has put 2 items on the agenda. The first one, he says, gentlemen, we are not going to disarm. I'm not going to give my weapons to anybody. And second, I'm going to defy Israel on the Karish oil and gas field. And if Israel will not let Lebanon drill there, then Israel will be stopped, and we will take care of stopping Israel from drilling there. And this is the 2 items that will accompany us in the coming months.
Mm-hmm. Tony, are the Saudis winners here in this round?
The Saudis gave some backing to Samir Jaja only just to have some sort of, to maintain some sort of a relationship. He is going to definitely try to overblow the significance of his gains in order to maintain Saudi patronage. But by and large, the Saudis are not as involved as they once used to be. They've pretty much written off Lebanon and rightly and correctly as an Iranian equity. So they're just maintaining ties, also to appease the French on a certain level. But in terms of the political system, they have no play, and this is a lesson for everyone, not just for the Saudis. I mean, I've been seeing some voices in Israel talking as though there is some sort of a political play to be made in Lebanon that would constrain or weaken Hezbollah. This is all fantasy. For Israel, the Lebanese problem is a military problem, exactly as Dr. Neria just said. It's not a political problem that Israel can have a political play in. And that's the bottom line. And this is a structural issue, and that doesn't change by this election. Hezbollah's military power, Hezbollah's financial and demographic power, all of these things are, and its total dominion over the Lebanese system, those things are unaffected by this election.
Yeah, well, Dr. Neria, you surely remember the days when Israel tried to reshape Lebanon's political picture.
Well, we were
that
not
didn't
the
work
only
very
ones.
well.
France before us and the US before us, the multinational force before us. Lebanon is a very difficult place to play, and certainly in 1983, when we were talking about the first withdrawal from Beirut, the chief of intelligence asked me what to do. I was responsible of the Lebanese desk at the time. I said, we don't have anything to do in Lebanon. Let's withdraw to the international border. Unfortunately, it took us 17 years more, and lots of people, lots of soldiers who were killed and injured before we withdrew from Lebanon.
Not a simple place, Lebanon. Thank you very much, both of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.